Thank you so much for joining us. It's a beautiful afternoon. I am Rotimi Akintude. Welcome to your Viewpoint right here on NTA Channel 10 Lagos. And of course, it airs on Star Times 103. This program is sponsored by Integrated Communication Services. It is created to encourage moral values in our society and provide possible solutions to societal issues. Today, we're talking about responsibilities of Nigerians, your responsibilities as a Nigerian. As we approach the general elections, there's a need for us to warm up to our responsibilities to see what we need as a nation, as a people, and of course as an individual, what we need to do to ensure we perform our roles, and of course other things and responsibilities, duties, obligations we need to be reminded of as we approach these elections. I have in the studio legal practitioners who will do justice to the issues we will be laying before you this beautiful afternoon. I have Rachel Balogun Oswala and of course Oluwatoni Sanusi. Both of them, they are legal practitioners. Thank you so much for joining us on the show this afternoon.
You're welcome.
All right, you're looking great.
Thank you.
All right, very quickly, we need to talk about responsibilities and of course a number of persons, maybe in the course of education, going to school and all of that. Some have been taught what citizenship is all about, but at the same time we have some persons who are not privileged to get this information. But then we've come to a period where we need to remind people of what their responsibilities are. Peradventure, they may not know and maybe they've forgotten. So let's look at three things: responsibilities, duties, and rights. So I'll start with Rachel. Let's differentiate between these three, if there are similarities, so to speak.
Okay.
What connects the three together?
All right, thank you very much, and thank you for having me on the show. Responsibilities is the same thing as duties. It's also the same thing as obligation. However, you have rights. Of course, your rights are embedded in the Constitution, Chapter 4. That's when you have the right to live, you have right to freedom of speech, and all of those things. But however, the responsibilities and obligation is what is expected of you as a Nigerian citizen. What are the things that, whether or not no one is looking, it is expected that you're supposed to do. And of course, some of these things are, you're expected to respect the national flag. We're expected to even respect the national anthem. That's why most times when we're in school, when we want to recite it, we all stand up with our hands. It's a way of respecting the national flag. Of course, you have the obligation to also vote, to pay your tax, to respect authorities. Those are your obligations. You are not supposed to be forced to do that, basically.
You have something to add?
Yes, as individuals, as citizens, we find out that everybody's always asking the government for what their obligations are to them. But also, we also as citizens, we also have an obligation to the government and also to our fellow citizens.
Okay.
One of it, as she has rightly said, but I will just add a few more to what she just said, is we need to protect the good name of Nigeria. We need to protect the good reputation of Nigeria. We need to ensure that we are good ambassadors of Nigeria in Nigeria and also outside the shores of Nigeria. You find out that a lot of people go outside the country and don't care about the name of Nigeria where they go. So if any offense occurs, the first thing they ask a person is, what's your name? And then where are you from? So if the person is asked, what's your name, where are you from? That's the identity. And then this person says, I'm a Nigerian. And if you're a Nigerian, you are not protecting the name of, the good name, the good reputation of Nigeria. You're not standing as a good ambassador of Nigeria. You know, moving on from that also, you need to live in brotherly love with one another, in brotherhood, with peace and tranquility with your neighbors. And your neighbors are very, very, you have to help everyone, ensure that there is peace in the neighborhood. Very important.
You know why I'm smiling? That takes us to situations whereby people do not want to be implicated, so to speak, you know, when situations arise and you want to help when it becomes a problem. This is something we mentioned the other time when we were on this show about a week ago or 2 weeks ago, where you have to help people, but because of the procedures or what you might eventually get into, you are scared and you want to withdraw?
Okay, usually we owe our neighbors a duty of care. Now, what do I mean by duty of care? You are obliged to take care of your neighbor, whether you know him or not, or whether you know her or not. Now, what do I mean? For example, you live in an estate, and every morning you wake up, everything is fine. But at a point, you start noticing maybe 2 men just lurking around. Now, it necessarily may not be in your own home. It could be someone else's house. And then when you notice it, you owe that neighbor, whether or not you know that particular neighbor, to at least report to maybe the security agent or the police officer. Now, that's you having a duty of care towards that neighbor. Now, you can be scared that, oh, what if I go and then I'm arrested or something? No. That's why you have lawyers, that's why you have security personnel that you can just walk to write a statement. People are always scared. In fact, I have a lot of people come to meet me that when I get to the police station, they would actually collect money from me and all that. It's not always like that. You get a lawyer, and also they will be like, lawyers charge. That's not true. That's why we have pro bono.
Yes, that's where she would come in.
Okay.
Tony Sanusi is a legal counsel at Human Rights Foundation.
Yes.
So very quickly, we will look at how that can help people in a way. So you want to tell us the pro bono thing?
Yes.
Yes.
So what we do at our organization is that we help with bringing in indigents.
Okay.
So if you don't, indigents means people that don't have money, the poor, the less privileged. So they can come and make their claim. Our one and only objective is to give access to justice to everybody. Everybody have a right to be seen, to be heard in the court of law. So that is one of our major objective and our major goal as an organization. So and we do have this very common. People call us to tell us, oh, there is somebody that beats up his wife. There's somebody that does this to this child. Abuse of a thing. Then we pick up those calls and take them up, and we report to the appropriate agency. We have so many agencies now that are really fighting for this, with Lagos State, with the federal government. There are so many things that are available for us. We have the domestic violence response team. We have the OPD, that's the public exactly. So we have all these people available for each and every person to subscribe to. No, we are not helpless. Like, people are not helpless. They can call on. There is help for everybody. So you can call on their NGOs, different NGOs. We have WARIF, we have so many NGOs. WAPCON, we have FIDA, exactly. We have even legal aid. There is available help for every person. Just call, and then you find out they're all on the social media platforms. Just check, and you call the person that's the right people, and then you get help at any point in time.
All right, we would go on a break, but before then, let's quickly look at something concerning the elections. You know, we're approaching the elections, and some people have decided. In fact, a report has it that a lot of persons have not collected their PVCs, and you begin to wonder why. Some persons are saying, okay, the distance is quite far. Some people changed locations, and they are saying that, okay, maybe the commission should find a way to find solutions to that so that people can get their PVC and all of that. But outside that, you still find some people who are kind of indifferent about the election. They are not concerned. They feel they are not concerned. And whatever happens, so they will just remain. If you like, vote for this. If you like, vote for that. As a legal person, what is your take on that?
Okay, first and
foremost. And what implication does it have on the nation?
Okay, so first and foremost, Section 117, subsection 2 of the Constitution actually gave us the right to vote and be voted for. So basically, to citizens of Nigerians, both in Nigeria and diaspora, you have the right to vote, except maybe you're in the prison, you're incapacitated, and you can't vote. But generally, it's your right. So if you choose not to vote, you are you're stopping this right. You're not helping the country to move forward, because your vote might be the difference in what this country actually needs. So how are we going to help the government to make things happen in the country when you choose not to vote? So I understand sometimes when we watch the elections on TV and then when we go out, we notice that most times we have riots, most times we have issues with the ballot box, and then before you know it, 1 or 2 persons gets killed. Now, I can understand that maybe that's why some of these people are afraid. But then the truth is, if we do not take what we want for the country by our hands, who will do that for us? Who will? So if we sit down, relax, and feel like we don't want to vote, how will we have a better system in government? So I feel like, yeah, sometimes you can have legitimate reason not to vote, in the sense that maybe you don't want to get killed, you don't want your children or your family. But then, if you stop yourself from doing what is right, who will do it for you? Who will? Your votes count. Whatever you do counts.
Okay, let's quickly look at voting in election, participating in election. You call it a right.
Yes.
In any way, could it be a responsibility too, or a duty?
Okay. Yeah. Well, it could. It is your duty. It is your responsibility.
Okay.
Just like I said. Now, it's a right. Now, when a right is embedded on you, and you fail to exercise that right, then it would affect whoever that right is going to whoever is going to benefit from that right. Let me use that word. Okay. Now, you are supposed to vote. The constitution has given you the power to vote. Now, when you fail to vote, now the truth of the matter is most of Nigerians don't vote. In fact, most of us don't vote. Most of what we practice, we don't vote. You see people playing football, you see people on election day, you see them playing football, and then or sometimes even here, you give us money, we did this, you understand? So if you fail to exercise that right, that's one vote is being denied of a voice, that you're not speaking, you're not speaking to the system, because when you vote, that means your own vote is speaking to something you believe in, you trust in, and basically when you deny yourself, nobody would arrest you. That is the truth. If you decide not to vote, nobody's going to come to your house to say, oh, you did not vote. You would no, that's the truth. But then when you do not vote, you deprive yourself your own voice to the system.
Even at that, is it possible, if you do not vote, you've decided to forego your right? Now, when the leader in question, people who have been voted into power, when they mess up or they are misbehaving, do you have a right to question them?
Well,
in one word.
Well, I'm of the opinion that you can still question them.
You can still question. Yes. We will talk more about that. We have to go on this break. Tosin Maliki has something for us. It has to do with hand washing. Maybe you've forgotten hand washing because we're not talking about COVID anymore. But then let's get to see some things we need to know about proper hand washing. We will be back. Go nowhere.
Did you know germs that cause bacterial and viral infections are everywhere? Things we touch all the time like computer keyboards, cell phones, money, toilet seats, and light switches are especially dirty. Here are the benefits of proper hand washing. Bacteria accumulate on our hands constantly, so it is impossible to keep them completely germ-free. But washing your hands properly and often limits the transfer of germs and has many great benefits. It keeps your workplace healthy. Anyone who has ever had a job knows how easy it is for sickness to spread in the workplace. Once a co-worker gets sick, it's not long before everyone else is under the weather. Proper hand washing by all employees can drastically cut down on the spread of illness and even helps with not getting infected in the first place. It lessens foodborne illnesses. Nearly all foodborne illnesses arise from improper hand washing. And this doesn't just happen in unfamiliar restaurants' kitchens. At home, you also need to be vigilant about washing your hands before and after every meal preparation and serving food. It lowers survival rate for lingering bacteria. Bacteria have been on this planet for billions of years. Their masters are staying alive, so don't expect them to simply die off if you don't wash your hands. They can thrive on your hands for days, seeking refuge in your fingernails. It helps combat the rise in antibiotic resistance. Proper hand washing can prevent stomach-related and respiratory illnesses by over 30%. Antibiotics are often unnecessarily prescribed to combat these infections, which in many cases are caused by viruses, not bacteria. Widespread overuse of antibiotics leads to bacterial resistance, making illnesses more difficult to cure around the globe. It keeps kids healthier. Teaching children how to properly wash their hands can cut down the spread of sickness in daycare centers, schools, and at home. Tiny hands come in contact with hundreds of different surfaces and objects on a daily basis. Keeping those hands clean and germ-free helps kids, teachers, parents, and everyone stay well. It prevents infections through eyes, nose, and mouth. Whether we realize it or not, we touch our eyes, nose, and mouth up to 4 times an hour. This adds up to dozens of opportunities for bacteria to happily enter our bodies and cause infection. Thorough hand washing reduces the odds that these microbes will make it anywhere near your face.
All right, thank you so much for being there. You're still watching Your Viewpoint, and we've been talking about issues relating to your responsibilities as a Nigerian. I've been speaking with Rachel Balogun-Swala and Oluwatoyin Sanusi. The last thing we talked about is basically about if you have the right to question somebody who has been voted into power. You did not vote, but then this person is misbehaving, and you want to question, do you have a right to do so?
Okay, so most people really want to transfer their rights to politicians and think, okay, politics is just for politicians, but it's for everybody. And before you vote for a particular person, what you need to do, if you are really interested in the growth and development of this country, you will look at their manifesto and see these are the things they've promised. These are the things they've said they are going to give to us when they come into power. But if we didn't do that, if you did not check the manifesto, you did not vote, then another person can come in. You don't know what was in their manifesto, and at this particular point in time, you cannot, when somebody did not promise you something, you cannot actually drag the person for a thing that the person didn't promise you. So that's why it's so important that questioning them before. What are the things you want to do for us? What are your objective? What are your goals? Who is this person? Another thing that we have not been really looking at is the grassroots. We have not been looking at chairmanship. We have not been looking at the councillors. Everyone is looking at the presidency, governors, House of Reps, Senate. But there are people. These people are the grassroots. They are the ones that know what is what is wrong with the people at the grassroots, the local government areas. They know all these things. So everyone needs to really get to know all these candidates, get to know all of them, so that by the time they come in power, after you've read what they said, you've read their promises, you'll be able to question them and ask them for accountability. You have asked us about this, you've said this, have you done any?
You know, a lot of times you see people, when it comes to identifying somebody who is representing your constituency, you don't even know.
They don't know.
A lot of people don't know that. But then, do you have a responsibility to find out who is representing you? So when it comes to asking for what they've done, you can actually point to somebody and say, okay, you did this. But the case is that most of the time, probably because people don't vote, they have no reason, they feel they have no reason to do all of that. They don't get to know who is representing them. And why do you think people have this orientation? What do you think is the reason behind it?
Well, I beg to differ when you say that you cannot question those that you...
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying what people do. You know, the other question we talked about was if people could, and you both have said something about it. Yeah. But this time around, I am talking about how people get indifferent. Okay. Why they are not so bothered about who is representing them. Okay. And of course, we should regard that as a responsibility. That, I should know who is representing me. If they ask you, who is the chairman of your local government, do you know?
Okay. Maybe because of precedent.
How do you mean?
Okay, probably before this particular, take for instance, the chairman was there, maybe the previous one came in and said so many things. Maybe the previous one before the previous said the same thing, and then you see that by precedent, none of them actually achieve whatever was in their manifesto. So you get tired. I'm like, okay, if I ask, nothing would happen. If you come into power, nothing has been happening. So why bother? So let's just live our life in the country and just protect ourselves, basically. So I feel like if for example, if a representative who maybe won an election can come and make a difference, and maybe there is proper accountability during power, there is checks and balances, everything is in place, then people can rise up, their voice can be heard. They can now say, okay, we notice a difference in what you did compared to what was done previously. Now we can question, now we can say this. And also, the Constitution gave us the freedom of expression. Of course, we can talk. Now, experience, or like I said, things have shown that most of this freedom of expression are usually infringed upon. I say something, the next thing that is happening, I'm being relayed by some hoodlums and all of that. So people go back into their shell when they're trying to protect themselves, they're trying to protect their life. So if all of this can be looked into, then maybe we can speak up. Basically.
Let's quickly look at, before we talk about testifying in court, which is part of what is supposed to be the responsibility of Nigerians, so to speak. Let's look at human rights. The other time you talked about, Oluwatoyin talked about the number of NGOs we have in the country, we have FIDA and all of them like that. Would you say human rights, we've been, to what extent would you say we've been able to exercise our rights as a people, as individuals, despite all these NGOs? Would you say we've gotten high level of improvement when it comes to getting your right and all of that?
Well, seeing from where we have been coming from, I think we've gone a long way. I think we're at least doing a bit. Like, people are waking up to their to the rights, and people are waking up to. That's why you see all these NGOs springing forth. Now saying, oh, there is a right for a domestic violence. In domestic violence, there is a right for a woman in the house not to be beaten, or a child not to be violated one way or the other. So people are speaking up more now. Before, you don't see people speaking up. When rape occurs, people are afraid. People are shy to talk. People don't go to the police. They feel the police would,
But even at that, do people get justice on time?
Okay, that's another question. Because we know that our court system is flooded. Like, a judge can have over 1,000 cases or thereabouts, a lot of cases for a judge. And so it's flooded. It's not quick, but we have other ADRs, alternative dispute resolution means, where people then come together. So we do that also at Human Rights Foundation, where we call the families together and then try to mediate between them and help them to get to the crux of the matter and then make a resolution for them.
All right, you want to answer?
Yes, I was in court some days ago, that's last week, and in as much as we feel that the judicial system is very slow, I'm glad to say now that it's no longer the case. Why? Because now we have small claim courts that within 6 months everything is done. Now we have now we have the domestic and the sexual offences at Keja, which within a few months we are all done. However, we have laws, we have rules that are guiding practice direction that are guiding magistrate courts, high courts on the number of months they must conclude every matter. I was in court the other time, and the judge was the magistrate rather. We were trying to get a report of settlement. So it was telling me that you've been at this report of settlement for over 2 adjournments. You know what? I'm going to adjourn for trial or report of settlement. That's a judge that wants the case to be decided immediately. So in as much as we used to think that, in as much as they are cumbersome, there is a faster way they get justice now.
And that court issue takes us to testifying in court, which a lot of people don't want to get. There's this saying that because you've charged me to court or something, we can never be friends. That is quite common, especially as it relates to cultural orientation and all of that. So when it comes to that, what is your take? Let me start with Toyin.
Okay, so For witnesses, so
Yes.
you're talking about witnesses giving evidence.
Evidence in court.
So
yes.
giving evidence is not like you charging somebody.
I want to believe it's the same thing with testifying.
Yes, it's just
Okay.
testifying. And the most important thing about testifying is giving the true statement. Giving the true statement under oath, so that
Even when it would lead to the death of somebody.
yes, you have to know. So what's justice?
Okay.
Justice is that everything is done appropriately. So you give the true statement, what you saw, how you saw it, because you are under oath. If you are under oath and you lie or make a false statement, that's perjury. And with perjury, you have implications. It's a criminal offense where you can be fined or even go to jail.
What if you decide not to testify in court? What happens to you?
So
then you are, just like I said about you not exercising your rights. How will we get a justice? How will we get a just system? I feel like, I feel people need to understand. I think we need to have more orientation, more education system in order to enlighten people on all of these things. When I was reading about this, I noticed that in section 175 of the Evidence Act, 2011, we all have the right to testify, except by maybe if you're on sound mind, and that has to be proved. That means if you are maybe mentally ill, if a person is mentally ill, you need to prove to me or to the court that this person is actually mentally ill and therefore cannot testify. If not, you can still testify. And also, we have two types. We have subpoena justice tecum and testificandum. That means I may not even come in person.
But the layman out there.
Yeah, what I mean, that's what I'm trying to explain. That's what I'm trying to. That's what I'm trying to explain. That you can come and you can come with documents alone. I may not testify in person. I may just come with, okay, this is what I have. These are the documents I have. That's duty subpoena justice tecum. That I may not come in person, but for testificandum, I have to come in person to testify. So we have two options. So we have two options. So I can decide that, okay, since I have the documentary evidence of this, I need not come to court, so nobody knows who I am. But if I have the boldness that no, I can do this, then I can come and testify in person. It is your right. We are not going to be able to get a just system if you deny us.
So what she was talking about subpoena. Subpoena is when the judge can enforce a witness to come to court. So the witness has to come to court. If the witness does not come to court, then that means the witness is in contempt of the court. So, and the court has a discretion to give any punishment to that person. So it is so very important. So that means that so there are two different things. When you are called as a witness by maybe a prosecutor, you may say you are not coming to court. But when the judge orders a subpoena over you, on you to come to court, you have to be in court to give that witness. If not, you're going to get
that takes us to where rights are limited in one way or the other. Yes, your right to say that, okay, you don't want to testify in court is quite limited in some situations.
Well, if in order to get justice, where a court decide to subpoena you, that's the call to you, okay, we're trying to get justice here, but we don't understand this particular thing. Can you come and tell us what this is all about?
Okay.
Now, if you say you're not coming, one, that justice will not be achieved. Two, you are in contempt because the court have said something. So, in as much as you have the right to freedom of speech, you have all your chapter 4 of the Constitution, when a court which have the higher authority is asking you to do something, is contempt, and you won't want to be found in contempt of court.
Okay, that's quite interesting. Let's talk about tax. A lot of businesses today, at the end of the day, they fail to pay their tax and all of that. And some people believe that, okay, how much are they making? Why would they pay tax? Out of how much and all of that? And sometimes maybe they want to consider the system. They feel they are not satisfied with the way the whole thing is being put together, or how it goes, so to speak. What is your take? When people don't pay tax, it's an obligation, I believe.
Yes.
So in that regard, what do you have to say to people who feel that, okay, despite the fact that we do not get the facilities we want, infrastructure and all of that, do I still need to pay tax? Am I obligated to to pay tax?
So for every country, for every government to work very well, they need resources, they need that revenue. Revenue has to be in place. Without money, you cannot really carry out a lot of things that you want to carry out as a nation. So if everyone is paying their tax, they will be able to provide different amenities that we all need. They can provide roads, good roads, bridges, build bridges, help also other less privileges, help people build homes for people that are homeless, and do a lot of other things that we need to do. But if we are not paying our tax as we need to, we'll not be able to build these bridges, we'll not be able to build those roads, we'll not be able to do a lot of things that needs to be done. That is why it is so important for individuals to pay their tax, to remit their tax on time, and to also declare it honestly. It is very, very important for each and every person. It's an obligation, but still there are implications. If you do not pay your tax, or if you don't declare your honest assets, that's your financial income, honestly, you are going to be fined. There are different fines that have been already placed by law that anybody that don't declare honestly and anybody that does not pay their tax on time would get a fine, a penalty.
Paying tax, is it a duty or a responsibility? It's a duty.
It's both a duty.
But it has legal implications.
Yes.
Okay, you want to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say something about tax itself.
Okay.
Now, we have different taxes here and there. Now, we have personal income tax, and we have the company income tax. Now, I get a lot of people come to me like, they need a tax certificate, and I'm like, you don't pay your tax. How will you get a tax certificate? You understand? So basically, if you have a business, for a business owner, like now we have business and we have company. So if you run a business, for example, a salon, a barbing salon, a fashion designer, maybe just your own business and it's registered, you are obliged to pay personal income tax. Even if you're working for someone, you are obliged to pay tax of money that comes to you. Now, for the company, now usually when we go to eatery, you know they usually this VAT, value added tax.
Yes.
Do you know that we have the right and we are obligated to sometimes ask that company for their tax certificates? Now you collect money from me, even if it's as low as 200 naira. You need to show me that you actually remit it to the government, because you cannot be deducting. If I go to the eatery now and I buy something worth maybe 9,000 naira, and then you now add including value added tax, and then at the end of the day I ask you for your tax certificate to be able to see that you actually remit all of those little money to the government, and you're unable to show me, I can sue you. I can sue you for that 200.
So why don't you do that here?
Well,
that's not common.
Well,
a lot of people say, just how much is it? How much are you fighting?
I think that's just
ordinarily 150.
But it's not naira in 1 million places. It's not that the damages that they can get from that.
And the interesting thing is that every time you go to that place, you'll be charged.
Yes.
You'll be charged. You've been imagine thousands of people that are walking into an eatery, and then you get less value added tax. Value added tax.
They are making extra profit.
Exactly. So they must be accountable. They must. In fact, I feel like every year they should have a board.
Yes.
Maybe a display board that takes certificates like this is how much we pay. This is so that it will give us that that confidence that okay, whatever you add to my money, the value added tax is being remitted to the government.
We have to go on this break, and we'll be back. We have something for you in the world of sport. That's about prestigious football awards. I'm sure you'll be able to learn something from that. And right after that, we're on the streets of Lagos to ask people about this topic we are discussing, your responsibilities as a Nigerian. Please go nowhere. We'll be back.
It is well known that the game of football is more than just statistics, and that the greatest footballers create moments of beauty that transcend all material accomplishments. The most prestigious individual awards in this team sport are still fiercely contested and give the winners glory and bragging rights. These are the 5 prestigious awards in football. The Ballon d'Or. The FIFA Ballon d'Or is without a doubt one of the most prestigious individual awards in football. In addition to being the most expensive individual award in football, it is also the oldest award in the game. At first, just the top European player in a season receives the honor. That changed in 1995 when players from any country active in European leagues became eligible. Since 1956, the Ballon d'Or has been presented by France Football Magazine, FIFA World Player of the Year. The Best FIFA Men's Player of the Year award was originally a single award for the world's best men's players. The men's award was subsumed into the FIFA Ballon d'Or in 2010, while the women's award remained until 2015. Since 2015, both men's and women's awards have become part of the Best FIFA Football Awards. The Golden Ball is an award that goes to the best footballer at the FIFA World Cup tournament. It is one of the most prestigious individual awards in football. One of the factors that adds to the prestige of winning the Golden Ball is the fact that top footballers get very few chances during their careers to win it. The FIFA Technical Committee compiles a shortlist for the Golden Ball Award, which is given to the best player at each World Cup finals. Media representatives then select the winner. The European Golden Shoe. The European Golden Shoe is one of the most prestigious individual awards in football. It was established between the European leagues from 1968 to 1991. Since the 1996 and 1997 campaign, European sport media has been in charge of distributing the award using a coefficient that prioritized the top leagues. The FIFA Pukas Award. FIFA established the award in 2009 to recognize the year's most aesthetically pleasing goal. The winner may be a male or a female player as well as a relative unknown. Due to its subjective nature, the Pukas Award has not been without controversy, most notably when Mohamed Salah won it in 2018 with a collar. It is named in honor of the legendary Hungarian striker Ferenc Pukas.
Nigerian every summer would drink. Nigerian citizens, we need to be loyal to our country, to be obedient and to be honest. Not most of them, because majority are jobless, they are not educated. Thank you. To be sensitized means government has to make sure they provide schools, provide social amenities and all these things, educate them, enlighten them, make people at least get the basic facility of life so that the economy will be okay for people to live in or the country.
Nigerians, they have to do a lot to make the country well, like in obeying the government, doing what God wants, and at the same time you must get your PVC, because once you know you don't want this person, you have to be empowered by something that make you speak for yourself. So you have to choose the person you like and the person that will make the country okay. They are aware, some are aware. Like me now, I've just gone to collect my PVC. And through jingles on radios, television and co. On flyers also.
Responsibility of Nigerians are many. If the environment is conducive enough, apart from conducive environment, as a Nigeria, you know you have to live healthy. Apart from living healthy, you are security conscious. You are the change. You have to be the change. For example, an average Nigerian, they are not security conscious. Secondly, most times the environment, they don't take care of the environment. For example, you see an average Nigerians, either a baby or whatever status, either educated, you see them throwing refuse indiscriminately everywhere. They can eat in their vehicle, jeep, whatever. They will throw everything on the road. Change must be with an individual. That's Nigerians. If you want a change, you have to be that change. You have to effect the change.
And there are a lot of responsibilities though, but a responsibility as a good Nigerian citizen, I think it's just for me to make sure I do the right thing, obey the laws, like, you know, and that's my own, for my own part, do what I know is good. You have to be law abiding, even if somehow that the law tends to favor the rich though, but at least that will still go a long way. Like I said earlier, I said 80% of us, we are not aware. That's why I said that for us to be aware of some certain things, we need a proper awareness. You understand? Proper awareness needs to go, like when you're making a rules, the rules should go around, not to a certain people. You get it? So the rich should not be differentiated from the poor.
Be loyal to the country, be loyal to the system, pay tax, vote. Do not denigrate Nigeria, either in word or in deed, either within the shores, outside the shores. That's, I think, are the duties of Nigerians. I think most might not be aware of their responsibilities. Most might not be aware. I think they can be sensitized through public enlightenment in the TV, in the newspapers, on social media, especially on social media, because social media is the highest level of penetration now in Nigeria.
All right, thank you so much for staying with us. You're still watching Your Viewpoint right here on NTA Channel 10 Lagos. We've been talking about your responsibilities as a Nigerian. Of course, you just watched people on the street talking about your responsibilities, what you need to know, what you need to do, and of course, they said a lot of things. And my guest here would like to react to that. You have something to say?
Yes, I noticed that a lot of things that I could recollect is the fact that awareness. Are people really aware of these responsibilities? Do you know that you're obliged to do something as a citizen of Nigeria? Do you know that you have a duty to your fellow citizen? Do you know you have a duty to the government? Do you know you have a duty to your environment?
Exactly what we are doing here. All right, that's exactly what Your Viewpoint is doing, meant for. So that we can let people understand what it is, what they should know. And part of the reasons we had to bring up this issue, because we understood that a lot of persons do not even know, they are not aware. Maybe if they knew, they would have done something about it. But very quickly, we have a number of messages. Let's quickly look at them. But before then, let's quickly look at the issue of privacy. Respect to people's property and all of that. Oluwatoyin, let me start from you.
Okay, so everybody have rights of privacy. You have a right of privacy and also for your property. And everyone has freedom of movement. Let me start with the property, respect to property. We all have freedom of movement. You can go from one place to another. But as far as the person's property is concerned, where your rights ends is where another person's own begins. So you have the right to move on the streets. But as far as it is not into my house, you don't have a right into my house without my invitation. So if you come into my house without an invitation, then that's trespass. That's trespass to my own property. And also it can be breaking an entry, which is also criminal in nature by burglary. You can then be charged to court for that and then be taken to prison for that. So it is also important concerning privacy. You should not check any other person's phone.
That takes us to some people who also say they are into media, so to speak, especially some bloggers, that try to, because of a way they want to make money and all of that, they get into people's private lives and all of that. You don't even know who is saying all of those things. However, they may be saying the truth, but then what do you have to say to that?
Well, I feel like if you put your private life out there, then you give people rights to talk about your private life.
So you're saying that a public figure would not want to claim right to privacy?
You use the word public figure.
Yes.
Now I know that I have the right to private life and all of that, but then when you bring your private life to the open, then you make it public. I'm going to give you an instance. For example, tomorrow is your birthday or today is your birthday. You're a public figure, and then you decide to maybe post your semi-nude pictures out there, and somebody picks up this semi-nude, even if it's from your WhatsApp status, and put it out there, and then you want to sue that I put your, no, you can't do that. You put it out there. You're a public figure. You put your private, your personal life out there. I picked it. That's why you see that. I'm sure you wonder sometimes, why is it that this media, they get away with a lot of things? That's exactly the reason. The public got the information from a public person. You put
all right, we need to also define what who a public figure is in that regard. So by law, who is a public figure?
Well, a public figure we can't give a definition to public
anybody out there
basically
that has decided
to put their own private life on hold and then go out there. For example, I can be a public figure if I decide to speak. Okay, for example, I'm here at Viewpoint. Now the fact that you have brought me here, I can be speaking to you. It will make me be a public figure because people, the whole public, are looking at me. If I put my personal life out there, if I say anything about my private or my personal life on air right now, it has become a public thing.
Yeah, but at the same time, are you saying people do not have that responsibility to say, okay, I want to keep away, despite the fact that this person is a public figure? I just want to be responsible enough not to talk about those things I feel, you're
looking at morals.
Morals, okay.
You're looking at morals. Let's not bring morals to law. When you say, I feel this person, it's your feeling. What you feel may be different from what someone else's feel. Do you understand? So when you say moral, you shouldn't have. Well, I can do anything I feel like. If you put something out there and I feel, oh, it's semi-nude, let me not. I feel, and sometimes I may just say, let me do it. But what is the legal implication of what you did yourself? Now, for example, let me give you a very good example.
But before you go, legally, is it right, despite the fact that this person is a public figure, is it right for me to put out his or her nude pictures out there?
No, you can't. Get it.
Okay, regardless of where I got the pictures, or regardless of where I got the information about that person, if it's not for the interest of the public, as we consider in the media, is it responsible? Is it okay for me?
No, it's not okay for you. Now, don't misquote me. What I said is, if you put it out there yourself, then you put it there yourself. Somebody else can do it.
The opportunity to do that.
Exactly, but you can't prove. It's just like when you say defamation and libel and slander. When you don't put something out and it is gotten from somewhere else, you can sue that person. Then the person will give you your source. Now, if that source is legitimate, then you don't have a case.
You want to add something?
Yes, as she was just saying, let me just conclude our thoughts. If that person is, if the source is legitimate, then, but if not, then that's defamation or libel, as the case may be. So, but it is very important that we are very cautious of what we put out for people, from people's private lives, because there is also a copyright. There are copyrights, there are IP rights. Do you understand? You cannot just, you have to take permission from the person who owns the document, who owns the picture, before you can then reproduce it. If not, the person can actually sue you on IP, on intellectual property of that person, because now you are using it as if it was you who got it. So there are other ways that the person can get justice.
All right. Okay, let's quickly take these messages. In my own opinion, this is from Isaac. From Igbo. In my own opinion, as a Nigerian, I must be law-abiding and be helpful to my country in any way possible. Most Nigerians are not really aware of their responsibilities. Therefore, there should be mass awareness to help educate every Nigerian. Finyoluwa Folari, the truth is that Nigerians try to carry out the responsibilities in the country, but sometimes their efforts are being frustrated. Take, for example, I was going to work early in the morning one fateful day. There was an accident victim on the road. People were scared to assist the victim to the hospital. Most cases, Good Samaritans have been accused wrongly and people refuse to help others. This says from Lucky Frederick, Gutemeta, I try to carry out my responsibilities as a Nigerian, but the country is not favorable. We need to see changes in the country before Nigerians can be motivated to contribute their quota. What are your reactions?
Well, for the person that was going and then for accident victim and all of that, I feel like this is the thing. when you're trying to report an accident at the police station, you are the only connection to that accident. So they can't let you go because you're the only connection.
I hope this you're saying will not scare people.
No,
what you said, they can't let you go alone.
No,
okay.
It won't.
How do you mean?
No,
explain that properly.
Yeah, let me explain it.
Yes.
You're going to write a statement, and the truth of
Do you know what? People are so hold on. Do you know that people are so scared of statements? Oh my goodness. When people hear the word, you have to write a statement, people start sweating. What should be done at that point?
No, the truth is, just like we said, we should sensitize people. Writing a statement is not an offense. It's not a crime. Writing a statement is just telling us what you saw. What do you know? Just write it, and when you're done.
Do you advise people to write statements?
Yes.
By themselves?
Yes.
Without compulsion.
Okay, but at the same time, I want to believe you are aware that the statement can be used against them. Can it be used?
It can be. If you write something that can be used against you, you wrote it. Why would I write something you
now,
wrote against
the
you?
reason I'm asking this is because, you know, a lot of times, let's consider people who are not so literate, so to speak.
Yes.
And in that regard, they wrote something where they're supposed to write who.
No,
they write when. They write something and it looks like, you know what I'm trying to say.
Do that. You can't do that. When you're incapable of reading or understanding English or a particular language, of course there will be an interpreter.
Or writing. What about writing properly?
Of course, yes. There will be someone that would write it for you. So you speak it in the language that you understand.
Can you really trust that person that will write for you?
No, it will be there. It's going to be the name of the person will be there. What you said will be read back to you. It will be read back to you and then interpreted in the language you understand.
Yes.
You understand? And then this is what you have written. Do you understand? Yes.
Do you really think our agents have time to do all
they
this?
do it.
They do actually.
Okay.
They do actually.
And you can actually question it in court. So when you get to court and what you wrote down is not what is before the court, you can actually go to court and tell the court that this is not what you write and question that. So there is something called trial within trial.
Okay.
So avert any questions concerning that statement. So that would actually help you work out that.
All right, very quickly, as we sign off, before we go, people, when they hear the word court, they get scared. And that takes us to testifying in court and some other issues. You know, maybe you want to claim your right. Though this program is not focused on rights, it's actually on responsibilities. But one way or the other, it might lead to situations where you need to get to court or something. What should be the impression people should have about court of law? Briefly, in a few seconds.
Okay, you should not be scared of the courtroom. It's friendly enough. I get it a lot when people say, no, courts, they're always afraid. No, it's just like you can walk into the court and just sit down and just hear what is going on there. Just listen. It's not a place to, it's not your if you don't have a matter there, then you don't have to be afraid. Even when you have a matter there, if you have gotten a lawyer, most importantly, if you know that you don't have the confidence, just get a lawyer. Lawyers are everywhere. And unlike you saying that they're expensive, you don't have the money. MBA has a branch under they have something called the pro bono legal aid. Yes, they take pro bono cases. So just walk. I'm looking for the MBA.
All right.
Walk up there, and then you will get what you want.
All right, your pattern shot. A few seconds.
So I just want each and every one of us to be very, very in tune with what is happening in the society. Let us all ensure that our rights and responsibilities, we carry them out judiciously and help this country to become a better place. Without us, the nation cannot be a better place, really. So we all need to put our hands together on deck and do this work.
Thank you so much. I've been speaking with Rachel Balogun Oswala and of course Oluwatoyin Sanusi. Both of them are legal practitioners. Thank you so much for coming on the show. All right, this is how we wrap it up on Your Viewpoint this week. Be sure to join us next week, same time. We'll be here again to talk more about the issues that affect our society. I am Rotimi. I consider it be good. Bye for now.